cited any statistics on how juries have gone in terms of rejecting somebody's defense because of one promise not being met?
I'm not aware of any agency that tracks, because for one thing, you could have that case where it was just absolutely clear that charges shouldn't be brought against the actor. There would just be no mechanism for keeping track of that. The ones that you will find are the ones that go up on criminal appeal, i.e. the people who were convicted, so it's kind of a slanted sample.
How much of this bill is tied to getting to your original plan, and that was reciprocity? How many of these changes did you have to make in order to satisfy Texas or these other states?
Reciprocity is something that we worked really hard last General Assembly. We started with the Attorney General's office and first of all made sure that it was something that they actually wanted, because the reciprocity process is very onerous. It's very difficult. You got all these different states that have their own laws, their own way of doing things, and then you got variations in how all these different states look upon a concealed handgun license. So reciprocity becomes very difficult to execute. The burden has been on our Attorney General to go out and establish reciprocity agreements. On the other hand, if you think about a driver's license, which is another privilege that you have in the state of Ohio. If I go to Texas and drive around, I get pulled over and I pull out my Ohio driver's license, they're satisfied with that. They don't want to know how much training I had. They don't want to know, all the circumstances and mechanisms that I had to go through to get that. I really want the concealed handgun license in Ohio to be much more like other licenses. So I don't have a representative from the Attorney General's office here, but Ken, I don't know if you could help me any of that one or not. Reciprocity.
The states that we don't have reciprocity with right now fall into one of two categories. Either they have very little to no training, very little to no background check, so there's no way to get reciprocity. Like New Hampshire, Alaska, they allow anyone. I think Wyoming also, you don't even need to get a license, so there's some difficulties there. And then the other states, we're concerned about Ohio missing a couple of these databases that would be picked up through a full NICS check.
So you needed NICS in order to get to the reciprocity. And how about the training changes? Was that needed in order to get to reciprocity? That's independent?
Now that's more constituent driven. And when concealed carry was conceived and debated and put through the legislature under the Taft administration, this was all new. A lot of compromises were made, and they, quite frankly, just kind of hammered some things out, like 12 hours. Well, that's an interesting thing. Where's 12 hours come from? And then you actually put people in a classroom for 12 hours and put them on a range, in a classroom for 10 hours on a range for 2 hours. That arbitrary thing suddenly becomes pretty onerous. And then, if you're sitting at home and thinking, okay, I'd like to take a concealed handgun course, it's going to cost this much money, but they give it on 2 days because there's so many hours, I can't do it. Or if you do it, you wish you hadn't, because pretty soon you're sitting there and you're falling on your pencil and you've got to pull it out of your brain because you're going to sleep. There's too much stuff, too much time and too little stuff. We don't really change the components of the course. Okay, that's all there. We're just saying, why does it have to be 12 hours? And so they came up with 12, I came up with 4. I think they can get it done in 4 hours. Now, maybe we can hammer that down a little bit, and there might be some room for compromise in that.
And that's the first time you get the license. What's the training requirement for continuing to hold on to the license?
Jim, you want to talk about that?
There used to be a competency requirement that was demonstrated, and that was removed last session. And that was House Bill 495. So there has never been a required training requirement for Ohio's concealed carry license. That is similar to most other states, do not require it. Similar like your driver's license. You have to renew, but you don't have to go take a driver's test every time you renew it to demonstrate you're competent to drive a motor vehicle. If you're driving a motor vehicle and exercising those privileges fine, nobody thinks there's a problem. Now there may be, with elderly people, you may have a person in your family who, like, hey, this person needs to go do a test. Same thing could affect on a concealed handgun license. If you have someone who you don't think is proper, you could intervene on that. But there's no requirement in the state law to do that. And it just hasn't proven itself to be necessary in Ohio or any of the other states we look at.